During my student days in Rome, I was fascinated by all the magnificent sights around me, the ancient ruins of the Forum and Colosseum and so much more, the venerable old churches, the beautiful fountains, magnificent bridges, and colorful people. Everything, including the sky itself, seemed to be a work of art. I made a point of traveling on foot whenever I could, for, as I quickly learned, that is by far the best way of coming to know a place and seeing the sights. In those days my legs were still young and strong and could carry me far, and I often walked many miles a day. Often, however, when distances were great or time was short, I was forced to take the bus. Now this was an experience in itself, as every traveler to Rome discovers. Roman bus travel, at least back then, was by no means an orderly affair and was not for the faint-hearted. There were indeed seats on the buses, but almost always the buses were so incredibly packed with people that it took much pushing and screaming and practically a miracle of engineering to close the doors. And even then, somebody's arm or leg or torso was generally still hanging out of those doors as the bus plowed through the infamous Roman traffic. Pickpockets abounded, and there was often nothing you could do but shout, since it was impossible to get a hand free to stop them. Actually being able to sit down on one of these buses was a luxury I experienced only a handful of times in all the years I was there. However, there was always a special seat in the front, near the door, with a curious sign that read, Posto riservato ai mutilati ed invalidi di guerra, reserved for those mutilated or crippled in the war. Even if nothing else was taken very seriously, these seats were sacred, and no one else would have dreamed of sitting there. Remember, this was many years ago, and back in those days, World War II was not something you read about in the history books. It was for many in Europe a rather recent memory, the devastation of which was still to be seen all around. Many people, veterans and civilians alike, still bore the wounds of that terrible war, struggling through life with half an arm, or half a leg, or half a face. These wounds elicited respect, awe, and a certain credibility, a certain special status, even on a crowded Roman bus. Wounds, battle scars, visible reminders of past pain tend to do that. The friends of Jesus could not believe it was he standing among them. They could not be convinced of his reality, his truth, until they saw his hands and his feet pierced by the nails. It was the wounds that convinced them. It was in the wounds that he was recognized. We are no different from those incredulous people. Nothing gives a person more credibility than the battle scars of life. Why should we believe someone who has never known suffering? Such a person can speak with no authority, for such a person has never truly lived. It is our wounds which make us real to people who have also known life's suffering. It is our wounds which make us one with all the wounded of the world. Our wounds which are the only diploma given by the school of life, the only birthmark identifying us as truly human, truly credible, truly worthy of recognition. Only the wounded are taken seriously. Only a crucified God turns heads and turns hearts. Bishop Sheen used to question the seriousness of a person's faith by asking, "Show me your hands. Do they have scars from giving? Show me your feet. Are they wounded in service? Show me your heart. Have you left a place for divine love?" We are all wounded people, and nothing can make us more human, nor can anything make us more capable of being godlike. There are wounds that show, and there are deeper wounds that do not show but bleed internally. And these internal wounds, painful as they are the most transformative of all. Only the wounded heart opens itself to others. Only the wounded can see beyond themselves and notice the wounded all around. Let us not be ashamed of our wounds, but let us allow them to speak for us, for it is only then that we will be heard. Indeed, in the oft-repeated words of Thornton Wilder, "In love's service, only wounded soldiers can serve." And on this noisy, crowded, chaotic bus on which we journey, the only ones recognized, the only ones heard, the only ones for whom a place is reserved are the mutilated, the bleeding, the broken, the wounded of life.